Hello and welcome to Life After Life. This is my YouTube channel. This is a place where I bear witness to the powerful stories of LGBTQ people, but also of their allies. And together we celebrate their ability to start again after adversity, trauma, and pain. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Andy, but most here call me Papa Bear. And for this podcast, I'm joined by Jareem. He has agreed to share his story, and I think it'll resonate with many of you. Jareem, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me for the interview. Really appreciate it, actually.
Well, the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. So let's jump right into things. Jareem, where does your story begin?
I would say it began in 2014, right after work, riding my bicycle back home. I encountered a accident where a car basically hit me, really spun me right into the air, and I landed on my left leg. So it broke my left femur. From there, I was pretty much in bad shape. Good thing there was a lot of people around at the time because they called the ambulance really, emergency really fast. So I was rushed to the hospital. So it was a very uh, traumatic experience to say the least. It was a lot going on at that time.
Okay. What can you tell us about your life before the accident?
It was actually pretty good. I would say my second year of, fitness, of doing bodybuilding competitions and everything. Everything was going good. I was actually getting my life back together after the whole college thing, because college wasn't really working out at the time. So I was kind of seeing where I was at in my life and figuring things out. But I was getting in shape, doing the whole bodybuilding competitions. I won my first show, came in at third in my second show with a very bigger show that was actually really fun. And then I just kept training since then just to keep myself focused, prepare for another show just for the fun of it, actually.
So you were looking at show number three at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so you have the accident, the dust settles.
Hmm.
How bad was it?
It was pretty bad. The for the most part, I was on the ground after the accident had happened, and it didn't really click to me what happened until I felt like the pain and the blood all over me and everything while being on the road. And then once they rushed me to the hospital, told me exactly what was going on because I'm still like flustered and
Mm.
not really all there. And when I realized that they told me my leg was broken and everything, they prepped me for surgery. I was out for hours and didn't wake up till that very night, in the hospital bed, rehabilitating and recovering and stuff like that. um,
So I'm thinking then you go home at some point, and
mhm.
what is it like trying to recover after this?
So once I got home, I think after a couple of days of being in the hospital, it was pretty hard. It was my father, he respected my wishes to, be in my apartment where I was comfortable. I mean, it was probably best for me to be around people, but he came by every day, check on me, friends came by, coworkers, everybody was very supportive. It was hard to move around. It was hard to sometimes just get out of bed, sometimes to even take a shower because I'm dealing with, a messed up arm, left arm and a bad leg. And I couldn't sleep at night. It was really, really hard to sleep at night because I would have moments where the pain and everything, like the drugs or whatever they gave me wasn't really helping much. But then I would have moments even after the accident where I would like be shocked out of sleep because it's like I'm feeling like an impact of what happened to me is the best way I could describe it. And
Okay.
it wasn't really good sleep at night since for I would say the first couple weeks to, month or so.
Sounds like you're reliving some of the trauma.
I feel like I feel like I said, I didn't really process everything that happened to me. And then I think as time went on, I slowly realized what was really going on and, how much of an impact it was on my life right at that moment. I wasn't able to go to work. I wasn't able to train. I didn't even feel like eating half the time because I was just either in pain or just emotionally just not in the right headspace to even think at that moment.
Uh, that's where I was going in my mind as you were talking too. Is like, what kind of headspace are you in while this is happening?
In all honesty, I would say I was in a very gun-ho headspace after maybe a couple weeks because I was like, you know, I'll bounce back, I'll figure it out, I'll get into it because I'm really in a process of always trying to do more and get out of things as quick as possible. Not really in a bad way. I can't stand being still. And for
Mhm.
those long periods of time being in bed, just watching TV shows and stuff like that, it was not fun for me at all. I wanted to go back to work. I wanted to go back to the gym. And it just made me feel very, powerless. And I hate feeling that way. I like to be more in control of myself and my actions.
Not to mention, I mean, I've been through some rough moments, and the gym has always been something that saved me. And
Yeah.
that, when there are times when I felt like I couldn't quite cope, I'd go work out, and then after a workout, my
Hmm.
problems would seem just a little bit smaller, or the pain would seem a
Yeah.
little bit less, just enough to
Yeah.
for me to cope with. How
Yeah.
long was it before you could get back into the gym?
I want to say possibly at least 3.5 months where I was still like, I guess on a cane or crutches. So I was
Mhm.
just doing like upper body stuff. I wasn't doing anything with legs until probably not until like almost December, which was like maybe 5, 6 months
Okay.
from the accidents or so. And just took things slowly. I tried to, push myself as much as I could, but even though I like mentally said, I want to go harder or, try harder and everything, physically, I was just not, I didn't have the strength that I used to have. And it's funny, like right before the accident, my strength was, oh, I got a lot stronger to a point where I was, making more rep ranges and weight changes that I was actually happy about. And then when you finally have something like that happen, everything seems diminished and it went down to half.
So I'm wondering, what kind of inner dialogue are you having with yourself at this point? How are you
Um,
talking yourself through this?
to be honest, I would say like me personally, I was thinking to myself, I really want to, you know, get back in it. And I feel like it was mostly because other people wanted to see me do good and see me doing things that I love. And I wanted that as well. But at the same time, I realized I kept going between should I do more or should I relax? But me being me, I kept trying to do more, and I tend to do things the hard way,
Okay.
which isn't usually the best case scenario. But sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't always work out. For instance, like when I went back to work, I was still on crutches,
Hmm.
and because I really just could not stand being at home, and even though it was good for me that I get to be out and be around people more, it's not really good for work if something was to happen to me, if a liability and so on. But I mean, they were fine with me being back. It was at a time period where, the doctors did cue me, said that it was okay to go back. But at the same time, I was not all physically ready. But at the same time, my headspace was in the right mind, just keep busy.
Okay. If you had to do it again, would you do anything differently in terms of your recovery?
In terms of my recovery, I would honestly try to learn from my experience last time and say that I would take the time to properly recover, not so much rush the situation as in, trying to go back to work or try to go back to the gym so quickly. I would actually do the right thing and, I did take my rehab seriously. I was very, very good at, being able to get my leg in better shape to walk again.
Hmm.
And I would say that was my stronger point that I did do right is when I was at the rehab. But anything outside of rehab, I feel like I was a little bit, in a rushing mood just to get back into normalcy in my life. That's one thing I definitely realize about myself.
Okay.
I'm very quick to rush too much.
And if you had to talk, if you now had
Mhm.
to talk to you then, what
Mhm.
would you say to yourself to convince yourself not to rush?
If I would talk to myself back then, I would
Yeah.
honestly say it's I don't know how to even put it in words, but I basically tell myself things will fall into place as long as you take the time and the necessarily effort to ease into things rather than just rushing into it.
Okay.
Because certain things that you feel that you want right now is not ready for you at that moment in time. And
Okay.
things usually do fall into place as long as you have the mindset to try and get to that point.
Now, when we were doing the pre-interview, you said to me, "Oh, yeah, there's some real high points and low points in my recovery." I wondered if you might talk
Mhm.
about those for a little bit.
Um,
So, pick a point and tell us a bit of a story about.
yeah, I would say definitely one of the highest point of the recovery I would say is the amount of support I got from my family and friends, and just being able to kind of get back into some type of normalcy in my life. So one of the things that the doctor said when I was recovering was how fast that the leg was sort of healing at that time, and that he wanted me to try and put more pressure, try and do more to work the leg and everything like that. So when I finally did started doing legs in the gym, I took it slow and kind of gauged my pain parameters, and then basically within a couple weeks to a couple months, I would say it started getting stronger the more I tried to push. There were some factors in there where I would feel like it's too much, and then I would ease off. But then when I come back in maybe a couple days or a week, I would feel a lot stronger. And one time in particular, when me and one of my friends were working out, is he noticed how much I pushed for the last couple of weeks to even be able to do 50 pounds on a leg press with just my one leg.
Mhm.
And I actually did it, and it was actually very comforting. And I was feeling very rewarded because it sucks when you can't even do 5 pounds. That's for sure. But I would say one of the very low moments I would definitely have to say is at night, it would it would feel like very, very frustrating, and I had many doubts. I honestly had many doubts. So one night in particular, I talked to one of my good friends, and they listened to what I had to say and everything, and they understood that I really wanted to rush back into everything. But at the same time, I just felt I didn't think that I was going to get better. I legitimately think I wasn't
Oh,
going to get better. And so what they did was they consoled me, talked to me and everything, helped me realize the accomplishments I made beforehand. And it kind of helped spark me to keep going at the same time. But it's usually worse for me, what I went through at night, because I could not sleep. I
yeah,
just really
yeah.
couldn't sleep half the time because I would, like I said, I would get like these moments where I'm shocked out of sleep,
Mhm.
and it's not comfortable. So it would come to a point where I would stay up late because I'm legitimately afraid to go to
Great.
sleep because I feel like I'm
Yes.
not going to wake up.
Okay. Wow, there's a lot there. Um, if I take you back to that positive moment, what was it that the friend did that was so helpful? Was it that he saw your progress?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he also pushed me. He definitely
Ah,
pushed me,
okay.
but he was very cautious at the same time. He know, obviously what I went through and everything, and but he definitely, when he see me struggling and trying, at least trying, he was there to push me. He would teach me different variations to see what could kind of go around what I could
Mhm.
do, and it definitely helped me to kind of progress in the rehabilitation of me being able to lift a steadier, heavier weight with the one leg, because everything was so off balance. And even with my lower back and everything, it wasn't easy for me to do a lot of exercises I would normally be able to do. So we had to find other ways to actually do that.
And so what I think I'm hearing in there is, hey, just having an external voice to say, sometimes be cautious, and at other times, go for it, you can do it. Just
Yeah.
having someone else saying those things to you found really helpful.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it does. One of the biggest things that I've learned about myself is I pride myself in the people I keep around me. I'm very, very quick to, hold those around me very close,
Mhm.
sometimes way too personal. It's a good and bad thing. But at the same time, I take the good parts of the people that I talk to and I roll with that. anything that anyone does in their life is, their situation, their problems. You can't judge them based on anything that they've done. And just as they don't judge me. So if they're willing to help me, willing to be there for me, then I have to take that, at the best of positive attitude.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when you go through something traumatic, it can be really surprising who are the people who show up for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
And
actually another experience now that you mentioned it.
mm,
Now that I think about it, at the time, before the accident, during my first second show, I was coached by my first really close friend who's done all of that. He's, helped people. He's a nutritionist. He's competed. So he got me to where I was at around that point in time between 2012 and 2013. And then another guy who, I guess saw my potential and everything, he wanted to coach me. So he offered to help me as well. So I went with him. So before the accident, we were doing really well. I stuck to the plan, did everything he told me. And then after the accident, it just felt like there was no contact. There was, contact here and there, but it came to a point where it's almost like it made me feel like you're basically a lost cause now or something like
okay.
that. Like I don't know what was going on in his personal life. I know he was, had a new girlfriend or fiance and all of that stuff. But it just came to a point where I'm putting my trust in someone who was coaching me, who was a friend to me. And I basically lost that, type of connection, that support that I needed at a time that I really needed. So it really stuck. It really stinks when somebody just kind of drop you off the face of the earth when you're in a point in time where you're in a very bad situation.
Absolutely. I mean, what I'm hearing you say in there is I didn't really get the support I needed from somebody
Mm,
who I thought was there to support me.
mm,
But what I also, would salute you for is you took a second just now to say, well, I don't really know what was going on with him. I mean, there may have been other factors in his life, and I think it takes a big person to step back and say, what if I look at it from the other person's perspective? Not to say that you should tolerate somebody not supporting you. I mean, that's
yeah,
not a good thing, but also to let go of some of the anger.
yeah.
And
And as I got older, I kind of learned, any situation that I'm put in where I'm losing a friend or loved one in that type of situation, we really don't know what they're going on in their life. And I have to respect that. But at the same time, I have to protect myself and realize that I can't keep focusing on somebody who's not, at least giving me 5% of their time to, say, hey, how are you? Like everything starts with a hey, how are you? That's a very, very powerful, positive thing to say.
I'm also going to throw an idea that I'd like you to react to, and that is, I think often when other people see someone who's been through trauma, they don't know how to respond. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just easier to keep a distance. As I
Yeah,
say that, how does it land with you?
that is basically honestly true. It's almost like saying if so. I think I've had this thought before. If I saw someone go through the exact same thing that I went through, like I'm seeing it for myself, I feel like I would freeze. I
Mm,
honestly feel like I would freeze
okay.
because it's one thing for it to happen to me, but if I was one of the people who was around me that saw the accident, and if I saw that today right now, I personally feel like I would freeze up because I wouldn't know how to react to that at that moment in time. Whether it really does happen, if I do freeze up or if I do act upon it and try to help that person, I would hope that I try to help that person. But I know that experiencing it and feeling it and then seeing it happen to someone else, it can be a big impact as well.
For sure, for sure. I mean, you've raised the point of being right there in the moment when the accident happened, like the
Mm-hmm.
actual physical trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's also the emotional trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
so I hear you. Yeah, when something really dramatic like that happens, one of our responses can definitely be to freeze. But also sort of in a more social setting. People, it's hard to imagine, and maybe even a little sad to imagine the situation of somebody who's been through something really difficult. And I think
Hmm.
a lot of us, the first thing that we do is say, well, how would I react if that happened to me? And many people think that that's too difficult a situation to even contemplate. And so it's easier just to remain distant.
Yeah.
Um, and so one of the ideas that I like to throw out sometimes is to say, hey, maybe as the person who's going through this, I almost need to be a little bit of an educator and to reach out to other people and say, this, here's what I need from you.
Hmm.
Um, to what extent do you think that is true?
For me,
Yeah.
um, honestly, after the accident and as the years went on, I've had people contact me on Instagram, on social media, people who've not necessarily went through an accident per se, but they've broken their leg or a similar like injury or something like that. And they were definitely asking me how did I feel, what happened to me, and how did I get better? And I'm gonna be honest, at first I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to be rude. I just calmly told them, little things here and there, but not really into full detail. I just wasn't comfortable talking. And I think it's my mind processing that I just don't want to, remember, relive that situation. But at the same time, I did try to eventually, kind of talk about it, remind myself what I've been through social media. I'll post here and there what I've been through. And it's more so not necessarily to remind other people. I kind of wish if someone sees that they can, learn from the experience and see the message and, it finds some type of comfort. But it was also to remind myself and actually comfort me knowing that I went through something like that and what I'm doing right now to better myself.
Absolutely. And here you touched on a topic that I really like to talk about. When trauma happens, very often many of us will think about post-traumatic stress disorder. And
Mhm.
your story of waking up at night um, makes me think of that right away. But there's also a bit of research on what people are calling post-traumatic growth, and that is realizing that hey, when something awful happens to us, it's also an opportunity to grow and to become a better version of ourselves, whether that means physically, emotionally, intellectually, whatever. Post-traumatic growth, how does that resonate with you?
I definitely feel like that is a big thing, especially with me. So, looking back at even some of my old pictures from, I want to say maybe 2015 and up to right before COVID happened and everything, I was definitely in a good process of growth physically and mentally. I recently moved to Brandon, Florida, and I was in a very good headspace. I was in the gym working. I was actually a lot stronger than I was, previous 3 years when the accident happened. And I was definitely making progress. One of the biggest things that bothered me during this whole period was the muscle atrophy in my leg. It constantly bothered me. I did not like looking at myself in the mirror and seeing one leg bigger than the other.
Mhm.
And I've had people come to me giving me ideas of what I can do to kind of, get that out of the way. So like one thing that I was taught by someone was called, I guess it's called occlusion training or blood flow restriction. And I did that for a good period of time. And I feel like it actually worked along with, doing different variations of exercises. But then also I would say like the mental growth that I definitely had was more so a point in time where I would feel like I don't have as much, I wouldn't say anxiety or stress from the situation. I felt like I was a little bit more uplifting because I was making progress in the gym
Wow.
and getting back to some type of normalcy. But as time went on, we did realize that I was having more physical issues that may or may not be related to the accident. So, for instance, recently in the last couple of years, I realized that my lower back L4, L5 is slightly shifted to the left.
Mm.
So that's creating what I guess the doctor told me mild, he told me is a mild case of sciatica. So as time was going on at work, I was having issues where, I have a sort of a limp sometimes, and sometimes my leg it gets stiff and everything like that. But we came to a point where I was actually physically almost to a point where I was about to stumble or fall when I stepped, and it was almost giving out on me. So that's when I went to that doctor, and he told me that that was what was going on. So fast forward maybe a year after realizing what was going on there, I tried to minimize the issue by doing more stretches and kind of like you know uh finding proper form and when I work out and everything to kind of do everything the right way so I don't mess up and injure myself even further, because I'm not supposed to be doing squats, which I hardly ever did squats anyways. And it
Seriously,
kind of helped a little bit, but it
but
kind of goes
the
to another
size
story.
of your legs, you didn't squat.
Nope,
Oh
not
wow.
not much. No. People would always ask me, how much do you squat and all this? I honestly, the highest amount of weight I've squat was probably 3 plates on each side. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
The motion, it's too uncomfortable for me, and I never could get the proper form down.
Okay.
I practice, but it just never felt comfortable for me, especially after the accident. I couldn't do it at all because it
I
would
hear
be
you.
very discomfort in my lower back and my leg.
So
But I
what did
definitely
work
did a
for
lot
you?
of leg presses.
Okay. Okay. And so now you detected this problem post
Mhm.
accident, and where do things stand?
Things kind of took a turn for the worse, I would honestly say. This is where I go into another point in the story where I feel like it's another traumatic point. My father passed away. Well, before he passed away, I was going through that whole situation physically,
Hmm.
and then emotionally when we found out he was sick, and then he finally passed away, then everything in my life was being turned upside down. We all literally had like this whole big family reunion back home where I'm from, the Virgin Islands.
Hmm.
And when we came back, he got really sick. So it was a very hard point because we had everyone there, all the kids, all the, my brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and then we come back and we had to go through this whole thing. And when he finally passed, everything in my life was spiraling out of control. Um, I was going through an issue where I was staying. One of my friend I was staying at, the home that we were in, it had an issue and he got sick with it had mole issue or something
Okay.
like that.
Right.
So we had to get everything taken care of, get it all cleaned, and he couldn't even live in the house anymore. So I had to find somewhere else to live. So in the process of me trying to find somewhere else to live, I'm dealing with the issue of my father in the hospital. He finally passed, and then I'm scrounging to find a new apartment. So I found a new apartment. So I finally found a new apartment, and then I have to hear back home my grandmother, she wasn't doing well, and this is about 3 4 months after my father passed,
Okay.
and then I'm stressing about her, and then this is around I think November, so it's around the holidays. So I'm like I, I was very like numb to the situation that happened to my father already. So when I had to hear this about my grandmother, I wasn't feeling very well. I was very physically and emotionally just completely tired, very
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
And she finally passed away at the end of November, and I couldn't even go down there for the funeral, which hurt me even more because I would say technically homeless at the time. I was staying at a coworker's place until I finally could get an apartment. And because of, the timing and everything, I couldn't even be able to leave and just go down there and be there for the funeral. And it kind of broke me even more. So things that happened since then, I was having more nightmares, couldn't sleep at night. My leg was definitely bothering me even more. It's like sending signals, my lower back and my leg. the one thing that we realized is my entire left side of my body had like this numb feeling, or it was just feeling very bad. So, and then I went to the doctors again, and then that's what it told me. I pretty much was going through a lot of stress.
Hmm.
And after that point in time, I tried to do, the best thing I can to kind of alleviate that stress from my body. I started going back to the gym more often. I started eating right again. I started trying to do everything I had to do right. Then I moved again, and this time to Ocala.
Hmm.
And I wanted to get my body in the best optimal shape. So I wanted to make sure I check everything. So I went and found a new doctor and I tried to get everything checked. Everything kind of checked out right, except, a few things, cholesterol, that was always like my biggest thing is cholesterol. But then we also realized I was having other issues, like something was going on with my heart. Because at that point in time, I would be sitting right here just watching TV, and my heart just started racing
Hmm.
for no apparent reason. And then I didn't think that was a good sign. So I went and saw a cardiologist, and I had the great honor of having what you call a heart monitor on my chest for my birthday. So
Oh,
that was kind of fun. Yeah, for 24 hours actually. And then I went back to the cardiologist, and we got the results and everything. And what they saw was it wasn't really anything too serious, but it was serious enough to show that my heart is still pretty healthy. That wasn't really the problem. It all boiled down to stress.
yes.
Stress was pretty much what I learned last year was stress was killing me.
Okay.
And the best way I could tell you that the guy who first coached me for my bodybuilding shows, really close friend, he spoke to me, he talked to me. He said, you basically need a reset.
Hmm.
One of the biggest things he said was, first thing you need to start with is you need to get your foundation back in order, because my entire life just felt upside down at that point. He said, one way of getting your foundation back in order, make sure your place is clean, make sure that's one thing. If your internal space that you're in all the time is clean, you have everything in order, you can get some type of structure going. And that's basically what I did. Um,
That is really interesting. Um, the accelerated heart rate, one of the things I was going to say is that often linked to post-traumatic stress.
mhm,
It's a characteristic of post-traumatic stress. And so I'm
mhm.
relieved to hear that it's not actually anything physical, because it
Yeah,
means it's within your ability to change it, right? And so
yeah.
this notion of working first on your immediate environment, the space that you live in, is an interesting
Mhm.
one. Um, when do you think you realize that things were at last, because you've been through a lot at this point, at last moving in a positive direction for you?
Yeah, sorry, I did say a lot.
No, no, no,
It's
no. It's all good, my friend. It's all good.
yeah. um, I would going back to the story on the doctors and everything. I would honestly say, it was also a very, I would say, what kind of sparked everything that was going on. I had to kind of think to myself, what's causing the stress? I felt like it was just maybe it was just the passing of my father and my grandmother, and it was a lot more than just that. I had to think to myself and internally, with myself, and realize that I don't do good with lost at
Mm,
all.
mm,
And it's not just per se death. I don't do good with lose loss of a good friend. And I would say over the years I've lost many good friends through stupid reasons. We've all been there. We've all realized, at some point in time, your huge crowd of friends are going to be diminished by the time you're at a certain age. That's just usually how it goes. And I had to learn that the hard way. So while I'm going through all of this, I I was having the heart, the sped up of the heart and
mm,
everything. And then after that, a couple weeks after the first time, a couple weeks went by. We did the heart monitor and everything. Now at work, I was so stressed out for no reason. I was fine when I got to work, But then I'm dealing with the customer, I'm talking with the customer. And after I was done with the customer wasn't really a happy customer, but usually I'm good at dealing with unhappy customers, trust me. But I went to break. And as I'm going to break and I'm grabbing stuff, to drink and eat and stuff like that, I started feeling like my entire body just started feeling very emotionally tired, drained. I started tearing up. And then when I finally went back to the break room at work and everything, I broke down, completely broke
Yeah.
down. And the manager had to console me and everything because my heart was just racing.
Mhm.
I was literally having a panic attack.
Yes.
And I don't remember in my entire life when I've ever had a panic attack. I'm pretty sure it's the first for me that I can recall because I had to go home after that and relax because it was not fun. And then that was the first panic attack because it happened again. So I would say a couple weeks after, I was in the gym, I was working out, I was doing everything. And like when I was telling you that I'm not very good with loss. So at this very point in time, I kind of lost, like, I guess my best friend
Mhm.
because of certain situations we weren't seeing eye to eye. I still don't understand what happened. I've been told, one thing, but it just didn't feel that way. And we had a conversation in the gym, and some of the things that he said kind of made me feel very uncomfortable, very not, it made me feel not wanted.
Oh.
And so I broke down outside in the gym. I called my aunt and my cousin, and I spoke to them on the phone. And I really, at that point in time, I really realized that I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I have to change. I have to change something. Something is not right. Through a good bit of, very close friends, speaking on the phone, definitely taking the time to talk with myself internally, I realized that what I was missing most of all was definitely family.
Oh.
So I made the decision to finally move again and be closer to family. And it has definitely done a lot of good for me because for a long time, I was kind of pushing everyone away
Mhm.
because everyone was dealing with grief in their own type of way. I still to this day have not accepted what's happened, and I pretty sure I pushed it away too much to the point where I couldn't take it anymore.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I think until you experience the loss of somebody who's very close to you, a lot of people tend to think that grief is like an injury. You sustain it, you heal from it, and then everything goes back to normal. And I think grief is actually a way of loving. And you continue to love that person, you continue to honor that person, and you continue to grieve that person. It may not be with time as raw and debilitating as it was at first, but it's there. And I don't think that that is necessarily a sad thing.
mhm.
It is, as a way, as I said, a way of honoring and loving the person going forward. And as I say that to you, how does it land with
Did it again, sorry.
you? Yeah, what do you think of that idea?
Oh, yeah. That was definitely one thing I actually thought about in terms of my father as well. Like I've heard many stories about him growing up and everything, but one of the stories that definitely sticks with me is how much he likes to help people.
Mhm.
That was one of the biggest things. And one of the things that I notice is my greater qualities is I love to help people also. One, I would say it's a double-edged sword or a curse or sometimes, but we overly tend to help people before ourselves. And I know it's not the best thing to do, but it feels right, you
Okay.
know? But one thing even my friend, my coach even told me, how about we first start helping Jareem? He told me,
Uh,
why not make Jareem your best friend?
hmm,
And that stuck with me. That really stuck with me because I've been so focused on trying to help other people, I wasn't helping myself.
okay.
And we all know that if you can't even help yourself, how are you supposed to help other people?
Mhm.
I used to always watch, TV shows, superheroes, and all these different things back in the 80s and 90s. And then you think to yourself, if the heroes are saving all these people, who's saving the heroes?
Hmm.
Who's going to be there for when they need that help? And I think that was one of the bigger things that I kind of learned is I need to take care of Jareem first and then help others along the way.
When you take the plane on the safety demo, they say put on your oxygen mask before attempting to assist others.
Yeah.
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 What does it mean to help Jareem first?
Honestly, basically first things first is like I said with the whole foundation everything, I definitely needed a change of space, a change of scenery area, and then I felt like being with family definitely is what spurred me to be better, especially when I recently went and visit my cousin in Arizona, and then I went to visit one of my close friends in New York. And as I'm taking the time to be around other people that, love me, care about me, it's really helped me to kind of realize how much I needed that comfort right and then and there. So now I'm thinking about everything and I'm finally getting to a point where I feel like I can start pushing myself in a better direction.
Okay.
Ever since I came back from New York, I am now eating right again. I'm in the gym. I'm not fighting my boss at work anymore because she annoys me sometimes, but it's more or less. And one of the things my cousin taught me also is because I used to feel a lot of times I used to feel like I'm behind. Everyone's getting married, everyone's having a
Mm,
career, and
yeah.
I feel still. And I had to realize that it's not necessarily that I'm behind. It's just a more or less a situation as I'm not at the point of my life that I'm ready for yet. I have to get to that point. So I have to start, building on everything that I have now to get to that point. So I finally, once I came back last month from my trip, I started doing the right things, and as I'm not gonna say that it's been easy. I do have my moments where I want to, just pause and just feel a little down sometimes. But honestly, I think about the positive stuff a lot, and it's kind of giving me that fuel, that energy to actually do better.
Absolutely. So in there, I heard family, I heard love, I heard better. Can you link those things for me?
Mhm. Family, love, and better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, one other thing that I always thought about also is even though people sometimes like we go back to the situation where we don't know what someone else is going through in their lives and how
Hmm.
they're feeling right now at that time, they can't console you and be there for you at that given time. Don't let it make you feel like you can never trust anybody, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Like even though I've lost people, friends that I feel that I'd be friends with forever, never always a situation. Don't close yourself off to think that you'll never be able to trust someone, because I've honestly realized for me through all of this that's happened to me, the accident, everything that's happened with my father and my grandmother and the amount of people that gave me support when I needed it,
Hmm.
that's what I have to look forward to. I can't just think I can't trust anyone. There is some good people out there. There is some people who actually care. And I felt that instead of closing myself off to the world, it's better to just take a chance than to not take a chance at all on the people that are around you.
What I heard when you were talking about Arizona and New York was people were demonstrating to you that you're worth taking care of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so why not then take care of yourself? The other thing that I heard in that was um, when someone is not there for me, it maybe is a little easier for me to trust when I stop and think that what happened is not a statement about me, but a statement about them. It's because they were dealing with something, they were going through something. And so maybe it's a little bit easier to trust people when you understand that it's not your fault, that it's not about you.
Mhm.
What do you think of that?
I think that's a big, big. a very big point because this goes back to last year with my friend that I thought was a very close friend. Is he was going through his situation, marital issues and everything like that. And being that I can somewhat obviously understand the situation, I had to definitely, you know, kind of swallow that, my pride and everything and, say, yeah, you're going through a lot right now. And I have to respect that. There are certain things that happened between us that I felt that he missed his mark on that could have been, been there for me. Something's very simple, and I'm a very simple person, something so simple. And it's hard to it's hard for me honestly to take my time to respect someone when they make me feel like I'm not being respected at all. I don't know how to really explain it in that time, the situation,
I
but
think what you're talking about, my friend, is setting a boundary.
yeah.
While I might be able to have compassion for you and
Mhm.
understand your position, it doesn't mean I tolerate your behavior
Yeah.
because this is the minimum behavior I need in order to be respected and to be healthy and well. And so it's
Yeah.
okay to set and defend that boundary. But I think the difference is if I understand that it's not about me, I don't take it personally and it
Mhm.
doesn't affect my ability to trust other people because I know, oh, he was going through some stuff and I'm not going to let him continue to do that to me.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that I can't then deal with other people and expect them to deal with
Mhm.
me in a healthy manner.
And I know a lot of people feel like sometimes they have to kind of beat around the bush and not tell you exactly their reasoning for what they
Mm-hmm.
do. But I'm the type of person is that I like honesty more than you trying to hide the truth from me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I would say, if I am doing something that you see that is an issue, even if it's something that I'm doing to myself, then I would appreciate you be honest with me, 100% honest. Don't just, say this is the reason and you're not giving me a, solid, like, I would say a solid, trying to say, how do you say, you pretty much you would say that I'm doing this and I'm not pretty much was more or less like you're thinking that I'm not doing enough for myself
Mm-hmm.
when I'm clearly am because I'm going to the doctors. I'm trying to deal with so much going on right now. I'm taking the first step to better myself. So there's a difference in not doing anything at all and not doing what you feel I should be doing
Mm-hmm.
right now in this
Okay.
moment because I can't get from point A to point B to point C, without, those stepping blocks to make it that to, so that's how I
Absolutely.
felt.
Okay. But so much easier when you put your piece out there and he puts his as well. At least you can look at it and say, okay, where's the distance between us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Um, you've kind of touched on this already, but I was wondering maybe you could sort of underscore it a little bit. What are the factors do you think that were important in your recovery?
um oh, sorry, yeah. So I would definitely say that one of the biggest factors that important for the recovery is definitely me looking at everything that I want in the future for myself and my loved ones. So I definitely have been trying to pursue like a career, something that I feel is best for me and not necessarily that's just going to make me money. Because I know we're in a time where money is essential and everything like that. But I need to be able to wake up in the morning and find some type of comfort in the job that I'm doing. And I like helping people. So I want to find a career that I feel and that I can justify, hey, I'm helping somebody. And aside from just that, I kind of feel like just being able to talk to other people who've been into some type of traumatic experience has definitely helped me in a lot of ways, kind of get out of my own type of funk and depression and all that. But I think the first main thing that helped me kind of get back to some type of normalcy is definitely eating habits. definitely the
Okay.
eating habits and trying to take care of my body first. Because once you take care of your body, your mind kind of, goes along with it.
I think that's kind of a repeating theme in your story is that getting better very often was taking care of some straightforward, simple things, whether it's diet, getting back to the gym, cleaning up your immediate area. The
Hmm.
little steps had an impact. There is a general, a retired general in the U.S. military whose name escapes me right now, but he wrote a book that the title also escapes me, but it's something about getting up and making your bed every day. And the
Hmm.
premise of his thinking is if you can get up, make your bed, then that's actually a path to wellness because there's one little thing that you've been able to do for yourself in the day, and other things will build on top of that. It
Yeah.
seems to me that's a little bit of what you're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would point
Because
out a
it,
couple of other things that you've said. One that I really respect about you in the way you've told your story is you went through a lot, my friend. You went through a lot, and other people would have been in your position and said, I can't stand up and make my diet good again. I can't stand up and find myself a good place to live. Many people would have been stuck, but again and again in your story, you're able to say, I need to change something, and you work to change it. Where does that come from?
I honestly say it would be my stubbornness. um, that's one of the reasons why my friend who coached me was actually very, very impressed with my diet and everything the first time around, how much I followed everything that he told me to do, how much I was eager to learn and actually do everything. And I would honestly, it was not easy. It was not easy, but I feel like if I get into a routine, and I always say this, if it's lasted for more than 3 weeks, I kind of, in my head, it sticks. And that's what's good for me is a routine. And one of the things that kind of, like I say, spurs me to, do better is I like the whole hero aspect. I like being, watching superheroes and all that different stuff. And even though they go out of the way, they, take their time to help other people, they sometimes don't take time to help themselves. And there's some type of aspect to that where you'll watch a show these days where they actually show the emotion of a hero who's being traumatized or worn down and he needs the support of his friends and family. And that kind of shows where I'm at right now. I'm getting the support from my friends and family. And I hate to say it like this, I used to constantly feel like I'm not worth it. And it's a bad thing to say. And then I have to come back and say, realize based on what they're seeing in me, I am worth it. And if I don't show that I'm worth it to myself, then what's the point?
That's what I took away from your visits to Arizona, New York, was here are people who clearly think you're worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got from the story was, hey, they think I'm worth it. I must be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I didn't exactly have a choice when it came to taking those trips either. I was basically forced. I
Okay.
mean, I wanted to go, yes, but I mean, it came to a point where I'm like, for years after the accident, I would not travel.
Okay.
I literally would not travel. That was another thing. What I first took a plane to from my island to the US, I would say when I was 15, and
Hmm.
it was definitely fun. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. I liked flying on a plane. Since the accident, I did not like being on a plane.
Okay.
I think it goes back to the PTSD and all that different stuff. If I'm with someone, it's a little more comforting and everything, but I really just did not travel. And so because I wasn't traveling and seeing family and friends as much as I used to, I kind of was just stuck in that bubble in that area, too much, I would say too much in my comfort zone, you know what I mean? And that was a very big thing that kind of got me competing in the first place was I got out of my comfort zone. I I went ahead and said, I'm going to do something that I've never done before because someone said that, hey, you would probably be good at this. Give it a try. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things is just trying. If I didn't try at all, then I'm going to be stuck here to this day wondering, what if I did this? What if I did that? Instead of asking myself, what if? How about I just do it? It's the
Okay.
same thing with asking someone out on a date. You'll never know the reaction or what will happen unless you just try and ask.
Hmm. For sure. I also heard in there that by not traveling, you were denying yourself a source of support because
Mm-hmm.
the word family has come out of your mouth multiple times and always with a big old smile on your face. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I, I wanted to ask you a question. Um, what changed? So a couple of times now you said I couldn't bring myself to do X, but then suddenly I started doing it. So for example, couldn't really travel after the accident. Now I've taken some trips. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
really like to talk to other people who'd been through trauma. Now I'm finding it helpful to talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
What changed?
I would honestly say, when you've denied yourself of certain things for so long, you kind of put yourself in this self-centered like lack of comfort from relationship emotional. Everybody needs some type of emotional type of comfort, whether it's in person. For me, it definitely needs to be in person because on
Okay.
the phone through social media, it's not very. It's become a part where everything feels robotic because of social media. So I definitely realized that I needed to be out more. I needed to be more social and just be able to see my family and friends more. And the thing that I definitely learned was if I don't take the time to do this for myself, then I'm just going to be stuck feeling numb. And people who generally have that feel of the comfort of always being alone, like I'm somewhat of an introvert, but at the same time I do want to be around people more, even if my energy level goes from up to down, after being around people for so long. The point is I feel more relaxed
Mhm.
when I'm around family and friends that I care about. That's one of the
Absolutely.
biggest things.
Yeah, my friend, the definition of introvert that I like isn't that introverts don't like people. It's just that it takes our energy from us to be around them, and we need to be
Yeah.
alone to recharge. But it doesn't mean we don't like people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to invite you now, Jareem, to sort of take 3 steps back from your whole adventure beginning in 2014. And let me ask you, what do you think is the biggest thing that you learned about yourself?
Biggest thing that I learned about myself. Um, I think honestly to trust my uh, trust myself more.
Okay.
In the aspects of stop second guessing myself. I think that's one of the biggest things. Is every time I feel that something seems off, but at the same time I never know what could happen, I need to trust myself to take that chance. And I think that's the biggest thing is what I need to do, or what I learn is I got to take a chance.
What chance have you taken?
Currently,
Yeah.
honestly, the thing that I'm trying to do right now, I'm honestly getting back in better shape to compete again, possibly next year.
Okay.
Because I feel like what happened to me kind of stifled um my passion, my motivation. And I think I feel like I need some redemption right there.
Absolutely. Um, if somebody's watching our conversation and they're sort of identifying with something in your experience, maybe they're facing a similar challenge, maybe they too have been in an accident, what would you tell them?
um, I would honestly say that the best thing that someone who's been in my position, you're dealing with something similar, is try to take the time to look inwards and find out what you want as a person, not necessarily what everyone else is telling you what you need or what
Mm,
they want. If someone wants you to do this, you need to find out for yourself if this is what you want. So if you feel like you're in a spot where you just completely lost, you don't know what to do. don't know where to go from here. Try looking at something that was positive in your life, anything small at all. And I would say go with that. Because that's one of the biggest things for me is anything that I found that was positive in my life, I realized that it outweighs any negative. Regardless of the traumatic experience from an accident or a grieving of a passing of a family member is beating me down,
Mhm.
I've had some pretty good times in my life and I need to hold that.
Okay. And sort of as a last question, Jareem, is there anything else that you need or would like our viewers to know about your experience?
um, be prepared to feel like your whole entire world will be turned upside down. So that's pretty much all I can say about that. And regardless if you feel like everything's been flipped upside down, you got to think to yourself, you can flip it right back and make it
Uh-huh.
better.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. With that, Dream, I'm going to thank you. I think your story is really compelling, my friend. I think it's something that a lot of us can identify with, and it's probably no exaggeration to say that you're a little bit of a superhero in your ability to face things, to bounce back, and to learn from the experience. I really appreciated your telling your story. I found it very inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I actually enjoyed the talk. Thank you.
I did as well. That's all for this episode. I hope that our viewers have enjoyed the conversation as much as we evidently did, and I look forward then to the next time.
Have a good one.